So from a research perspective, there are now a couple of studies showing evidence for price premium for energy efficient or labeled properties. There is evidence, for example, from Australia, from Canada, we have evidence from Germany, Switzerland, also the Netherlands. The price premium usually is between 5 and 10%. And the thing is that these studies, they are very high-level studies. They look at the entire country or larger area from a valuation perspective. That is not so very useful because valuers would need local data. And there is one interesting example coming from Switzerland. In Switzerland, they have a long track record of analyzing the price effect of energy efficiency. They have a label that's called Minergy, that's the Swiss energy efficiency label for residential houses, and they started to analyze this in about 2002. And in that year, the price premium or the price difference between an ordinary flat and a labeled flat was 19%. So that's quite a lot. And this premium now dropped during the last 10 years. At the moment, there is a price premium of about 5% only. And what this indicates is that at the moment we might be talking about a price premium, but I truly believe that in the medium to long term, we will be talking about discounts for the conventional stock as sustainable building practices are becoming the norm. I think we will experience this in a number of different markets. And there is also one other very interesting example coming from Tokyo. In Tokyo, they have analyzed the price effect of labeling, of green labeling in large-scale residential developments. And what they found, that there is not a price premium, but a price discount. These labeled residential complexes, they sold for a discount between 6 and 11%, which is quite remarkable. And the researchers, they found out that this was due to the buyers' skepticism of non-familiar environmental technologies and of their unawareness of future running costs. So this highlights two important issues. The first one is that the extent of a price effect of sustainability issues on property prices strongly depends on the local market conditions. That's one issue. And the other thing that can be shown by this is that information, and in this case information on the long-term performance of buildings, can really drive change in a market. And in the Tokyo experience, where this information is not available, so change does not occur.
David, how does that compare with your international experience?
Well, I'm not going to speak internationally, I'll just speak here in the U.S. And I'm familiar with some of the studies and things that have been done in Australia and some of the markets. But here in the U.S. specifically, we've done a longitudinal study with USD. And we looked at just our buildings that we manage. So it was a relatively small study. It was 160 buildings for the first year. I think we got down to 154 or so. We were just completing our fourth year. And what we looked at was buildings that at first were just Energy Star labeled 4 years ago. There were a lot of LEED buildings. Over time, more and more of those buildings were LEED certified. And the last year that we did it, I think probably 65% of the buildings were also LEED certified. So these were green buildings by word of the technical definition. And they were in 10 markets. We chose the 10 markets because we had enough number of buildings that we thought was statistically relevant. And what we found over the last years, and we haven't looked at last year's numbers yet, but the prior 3 years, is that consistently these buildings outperformed the marketplace. The numbers varied up and down, but it was 3 to 5%. In some cases, the LEED buildings were a bit more higher occupancy, higher rental rate than the Energy Star. And I think in the last year or so, the Energy Star ones started to flatten out. But we saw consistently that there was an improvement in rental rate and occupancy on these buildings. Now, that's similar information that was done by Niels Koch, researcher from Maastricht University, and Norm Miller at USD, where they're looking at broader sets of CoStar data. Niels Koch also has done some work, although it's a little old at this point, was beginning to discern that there was in fact a price differential for LEED buildings. LEED silver was 11% higher, LEED gold was 13%, and there was no further for platinum. think there was too small of a study set myself when the time that it was done, so I need to see more. But there's beginning to be at least more than anecdotal. There's a number of studies that are determining that there are in fact higher rental rate and higher occupancy achievements. Over time, we would expect that that would also have to review like even higher prices. But I think there just hasn't been enough of a fair market where it's been, you know, a balanced market to really determine that. But our view is, and the point that someone else was making, almost all of our sophisticated buyers or clients today are at a minimum evaluating real estate through the lens of sustainability. They're using that as a criteria for how they're purchasing properties. And particularly if you are in certain marketplaces, if you're buying a Class A office building in CBD Boston, it better be LEED. They're all LEED. If you're the only guy that's not, then you have an opportunity to make it LEED if you're getting a price reduction because of it. If you're buying a building in Cleveland and it's LEED, maybe not so much. And I'm not picking on Cleveland, but the numbers would show that's not as sensitive a marketplace. But I think all of our clients are beginning to, it's almost a risk mitigation in some way. To go to an investment committee, I think, at this point, and not to have the answers about the sustainability aspects, energy efficiency labeling, opportunity for labeling, et cetera, I think would be, I don't think an investment person would take it to committee with that.
Well, that means